So I sort of skipped a bunch of goggle products that came out because I really just didn't have a whole lot of interest in them. This is one of those that I just kind of skipped over. But since the Eachine came out with their very budget goggle, which I really liked a lot, I decided to take a look at this one because it's a very, very reasonable comparison to the Eachine. They're a very similar price range. The Fatshark is around $90. The Eachine can be found for around $72 or $70 and on sale, and it's usually around $85. It's the Eachine 800 DM or whatever. The link to that video is in the description below. And the reason why I'm even interested in these box goggles at all is not only because of the value of having a nice value pair of goggles, but also because if I was to design my own goggles like I described in the last video, I would prefer to make a box goggle over a binocular pair of goggles. Fatshark just started this binocular trend, and so all the companies kind of followed suit. I really don't understand why. Maybe there's something that I am not aware of that they are aware of, but anyways, let's look at this product. So this Eachine goggle, I have to start off with the quality of the fit and finish, and it's really fantastic. I mean, this thing feels like DJI quality fit and finish. I mean, the plastic is really nice, really thick. It's a white plastic, not painted plastic. The strap is super ultra plush, really nice quality. The faceplate is really nice quality. Everything about it is really good quality feeling. There is a compartment door down under here for the 18650 cell that it takes, which it does come with. I haven't tried charging it with the USB port, but I would bet that it does charge with the USB port. And one other thing on here that we have not seen, or at least I have not seen on any pair of Fatsharks, is an on-off switch. Very important difference between a switch and a button, because our buttons on our controllers are very annoying because we have to hold them for 3 or 4 or 5 seconds or whatever to turn the damn thing on and off. But here we can just switch it and go about our business. I don't know why these controller companies moved away from the darn switch, but hey, it's what we've got nowadays. And this also proves that Fatshark can do switches. They just seem to refuse to and have another software button on the HDO2s, which I have tried and I have kind of a lot to say about, but I'm gonna reserve my judgment until I actually get a pair myself and really put them through their paces before talking about them. I'm supposed to have a pair on the way. Anyways, the rest of the goggle is pretty basic. It doesn't have diversity, which is totally fine for a budget pair of goggles. Display controller is brightness contrast only. I'll talk about display in a second. And the band scanner has a scan which won't land on the right channel, but hey, it gives you the option to scan around. And it has a nice channel up and down, which is very nice to have. Let's talk about the inside. So this goggle, I'm pretty sure, doesn't actually have a screen back there. The screen is actually on top here, and they're using a mirror to reflect it into your eyes and through this lens. And I think they're doing that so that they could compress the goggle size a little bit more. If you look at the Eachine goggle, it just has a screen in there only, and you can see that it's definitely a lot longer than the Fatshark pair. And so that trick does kind of work, except for the fact that it doesn't, because I cannot focus on this screen at all. Zero. Like, I gotta hold my head 6 or 8 inches away from the goggles to be able to see the screen at all. On top of that, they're not using the Fresnel or Frenzel, whatever lenses of typical box goggles. They actually have a sheet lens in here that has been molded to have 2 lenses built into it, so it kind of sort of somewhat mimics a binocular pair of goggles. Not really, but it tries to at least. It just kind of confuses your eyes a bit because the convergence of the lenses, I don't think they're really set up to converge properly. I think that's part of the reason why it looks blurry to me. The screen quality is also not that fantastic. It is a really huge screen, and I know a lot of people that are box goggle kind of veterans actually like the enormous screen. I don't. I really much prefer a smaller screen. Not tiny, just not such an enormous screen that I have to look around the screen to see what's going on. Also, because the resolution of the screen is so low, and the resolution of our cameras are so low that it's like you're blowing up a 640 by 40 picture up to the size of a billboard, and it's just going to look like a blurry mess, and so that's not fun to look at. Also, it's a 16:9 screen only, so you can't run it in 4:3 mode, which is fine, except for the fact that the vast majority of us use 4:3, and it's really a lot nicer to fly 4:3 on a 4:3 screen. However, 16:9 is totally fine. Some people will be very, very finicky about that. I thought I would be, but turns out I'm not finicky about it at all. But I still do prefer flying 4:3 on a 4:3 screen. I don't use any 16:9 cameras anymore for a number of reasons, but I just only use 4.3, and I'm okay with 69 or 4.3, so that's not really a huge issue. The bigger deal is how enormous the screen is and how low resolution the screen is, and also how dim the screen is and how the contrast is not that great on the screen. So in this particular instance, the screen quality, viewing quality, and everything, the Ishin goggles are actually far better than the Fatshark goggles. I can focus on the screen completely. It does have an adjustment so that you can pull the screen in and out. I went to the AMA conference or event or whatever, and I had at least 20-30 people look through these goggles and compare them to their own goggles as well as other box goggles that were at the event. Everybody was really impressed with how well this Ishin goggle performs. I mean, Ishin does have a couple products that are really awesome, and this is one that I would say is really awesome. This one is definitely my most recommended beginner pair of goggles. Also, there is no light leak at all in the Ishins, whereas there is some light leak in the Fatsharks, which again, I'm not really that crazy about light leakage. It's fine, I don't really care for it, but it's nice when it's not there. But in this case, it is a lot better on the Ishin goggles somehow. Now, let's turn both of them on and take a look on the inside and try to compare them to you on the inside, but you can't really see with the phone camera just shoved inside the goggles. But if you didn't get the gist of it, I would recommend the Ishin goggles. The DVR on the Ishin goggles is not actually any worse than the Fatshark goggles. Here, let's give it something to look at. Not any worse than the Fatshark goggles at all. It might actually be, it's about the same. And these particular pair of Fatshark goggles might actually be slightly better than like a regular pair of Dominators. So you can see, actually in this picture, it actually looks better than it does in person. The camera is definitely compensating, but you can see how I have to move the goggles around so you can even see the whole entire screen on there. Now when you compare it to the Ishin goggles, sort of see the whole screen at once, and it's a nice 4:3 image. So yeah, do with that what you will. The quality on the Ishin is obviously not nearly as good as the quality on the Fatsharks, but the viewing experience of the Ishin is far better than the Fatsharks. But the Fatsharks will probably last you a little bit longer if you can even focus on the screen at all. I mean, I don't know who tested these goggles. I don't know if Fatshark, do they just make the goggles and one person tests them and says, oh yeah, I can see, good, let's make them. I'm very confused at how they could make a goggle that literally I've given to 3 people and everybody's just like, it hurts my head to look in this goggle. Maybe it works for you. It definitely does not work for me. Hope that was helpful. Take care. Floss your teeth.